I like that. I just love what it is.
Turkey's here.
I just
Got one.
Same thing again.
Really?
I got in there.
There's 7. What's your different one? You just gotta turkey.
I need to put a little velvet rope right here.
Can you have the water?
You have a velvet rope? I stole it from the club.
I don't think the AC's on yet. She's cold.
You're hot. Maybe because I'm coming from the outside. I watched these shows. Real shorts. Como novelas. And you look like one of the actors. You're so pretty.
Poking around the front.
Big night.
And they're like, the baby bring it up.
No se pinta mucho. But she looks so cute. She's remember she's an actress. Pero mira. Oh, I see. You see it? I mean, ahí no está pintada ni nada. Oh, man. Look at
At least you could try it.
girl. Your face.
Yes.
She does see it. Do you see it? Like, se parece a Mariana. Like, oh my God, every time I see her, I'm like, that's a cider.
That's like this. That's okay. No problem.
Toshiba carrier, they got 2 products. Brian,
I just sent you the string.
What's number prices? Super stuff. Okay, I'll grab
Very end.
I'll grab this and go sit at my desk. Oh, sorry.
Get that one.
Where's the key? Where's the?
Yeah, Rich knows which ones are which. Rich, what, 1, 2, or 3? You tell me.
I don't remember.
This one has, I was said I didn't set this up, man.
Come on, bitch.
The what? I don't know. You can take that port out.
Careful, careful.
Yeah, I want to see if they have some mail in there somewhere. Some 300-year-old mail. Real mail.
Then that'll kill you. It's a real risk, if you ask me.
There's no mustard. Oh well.
Rich, I'm gonna have to go see it on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
It's on the YouTube channel.
Brian has the link.
I just have to like kick.
Oh wow, it's fast.
It's pretty popular.
Mira, haces conmigo todo solito ahí.
Why didn't you even tell us?
Daniel.
Ya no es mi amigo.
¿No?
Es mi enemigo.
Oh yeah? Yeah, beef. ¿Tienes room?
Are you gonna be staying up there?
Well, Vinny's gonna, thank you everyone for joining us. This presentation is going to be about our VRF offering and a little bit about the different refrigerant that's happening and the changes. In case you don't know me, I'm Jeff Burton. I'm your Sigler carrier sales rep. And I've brought along with me our VRF expert, Mrs. Almano. Yeah, feel free to just kind of ask questions as the presentation's going. You know, you don't. We can keep it pretty informal, but yeah. And before Vinny goes, I just want to say that we are very hungry for all VRF orders. My company is making a huge push for VRF, so please, any VRF opportunities, I would very much welcome. Thank you.
Hello everyone. As Jeff mentioned, my name is Vinny Albano. With Sigler for 14 years. Know some of you in here, some new faces, but today we're going to be going over some changes. There's a lot of changes in the industry, from refrigerant to equipment, some new rules. There's been changes with the EPA regarding variable refrigerant flow, which we're going to go over. They actually finally set a standard on how the equipment is to be tested. And then from there, open forum, any questions, raise your hand, throw them out there, and I'll do my best to answer. And with that said, we'll just kick it off. So refrigerant, we're going into the A2L land as far as VRF goes. The two types of refrigerants that are commonly going to be, or that are being used, is R32 and R454B. Those are the two refrigerants today that are being used in VRF. For carrier, we're going to be using R454B. Carrier chose to use that because of the lower GWP, which is global warming factor potential. R32 has been used for several years now with VRF over in Europe. Asia didn't jump into it, but Europe did. With talking with some colleagues over there, it didn't really transition well because they were still offering 410A, so everyone was still using 410A. But there's also been talks that Europe is going to be changing their GWP, so they're probably going to have to use something different. But in the event the GWP ever changes for carrier, it's already low enough that we'll pretty much be safe if that ever comes. So, with these new refrigerants, I'm sure those that have been dealing with them, especially with VRF jobs or any job, or a chiller room, a mechanical room holding the refrigerant, I'm sure we're all familiar with the term RCL, right? Is everyone familiar with the term RCL? RCL is refrigerant concentration limit. It's pretty much the limit that we're able to have per 1,000 cubic feet of volume or room, right? With 410A, we're all familiar with 410A refrigerant, right? 410A was 26 pounds per 1,000 cubic feet for an RCL. With these new A2L refrigerants that we're now going into, for instance, R32, it's 4.8. 4.8 from 26 is a big jump. And then with 454B, when it first came out, it was 3.1, but there was an addendum that pushed it to 4.6. So 32 and 454B are right there. That's much lower. So all this stuff is changing, and you may be saying, if you've ever dealt with the refrigerant concentration limit, I'm sure you've had some type of difficulty with 26 pounds. You can only imagine what it may be at 4.6 and 4.8. So ASHRAE 15, and there's a new one now, there's ASHRAE 15 and there's 15.2. 15.2 is for residential, 15 is more or less on your commercial side. There's a lot of new terminology in the 2022 version. In the 2022 version, they've updated the refrigerants for the A2Ls and started coming out with all the new rules and so forth. And prior to that, we were always just looking at the refrigerant concentration limit. Now, within the 2022 version and on, we're not just looking at RCL, there's other new terminologies like effective dispersal volume. Your effective dispersal volume is just a fancy word for the volume of the room that you're working in, length times width times height. Then we have effective dispersal volume charge. That's the amount of charge you're allowed to have to be able to dump into that room. Before, we were just really concerned with the concentration limit, which is still there, but we use the RCL now, part of an equation to come up with the new refrigerant quantity. And it's not going to be the overall total refrigerant in the system. We're going to be, when we get into the A2Ls, we're going to be focusing on how much is to potentially dump into that room. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself, and you may say, hey, Vin, if it leaks just like it did previously, if it leaks, it's all going to leak in the room. Well, with the A2L VRF equipment is going to have a bunch of safety devices already installed. So it's not going to be the complete charge. It's really going to be, if we were using a multi-port box, is everyone familiar with heat pump and heat recovery on VRF? Right, so on heat recovery, we have multi-port boxes, right? Inside that multi-port box, we will be providing the factory all the emergency shut-off valves and leak sensors will be internal to that box. And then all of our VRF fan coils are going to have leak sensors factory installed internal. So really what I'm saying is when we start dealing with that, our system's already qualifies because we have shutdown valves and all that other good stuff. But instead of the whole system, we're just going to be calculating the refrigerant from the box to the fan coil. That's going to be the amount that dumps into that room. So it's going to be much less compared to previous, like the 410. We were concerned about the entire charge dumping into that room. Now that we have safety devices, we're not really concerned about the entire charge dumping.
So now that you've got all these shut-off valves built in, can we use those for service so we don't have to install shut-off valves on all those lines?
I should rephrase that, but great question, Mike. The valves that are going to be factory installed are going to be motorized pulse motor valves. We would still have to install the isolation ball valves. So the valves that I'm talking about, in the event the fan coil senses a leak, right? It's going to send a signal to the box, and that valve's going to completely shut. So that means nothing from the box and backwards is able to flow through the box. So all that could leak out is from that port to the fan coil. If that makes sense. It's right here, so it makes sense for you a little bit better.
Why did they not have instead of using a step down, positive shut-off valve like a solenoid?
Solenoid valves? Because solenoid valves are allowed. Solenoid valves,
No, it's not going to just for your emergency shut-off.
oh, for the emergency shut-offs?
Yeah, because it's a sense of refrigerant, it's going to shut off. Your isolation shut-off valve you're talking about.
Yes, so these will have emergency shut-off valves internal. not the isolation valves that you would do for service, but internal, if there's a leak, this is going to shut down that port. So all that you'll be measuring is the refrigerant line and fan coils, what's going to dump into space.
I guess the question is, why is it going to be a ultimate valve?
Because it's quiet compared to a drop solenoid that's going to go click and you're going to hear it, right?
But if it's a one-time deal, it's only in case of an emergency, right? Or is this going to be the operating valve the whole time?
That's another question I was going to ask.
Okay.
Is if it's not being used as an emergency shut-off, which I don't really care how much on it, if it's an emergency, is that a multi-purpose valve or something else?
Its sole purpose is to stop to shut the refrigerant down.
And maybe we get here, this EDDC is driven by LFL, right? The lower flammability limit.
So the lower flammability limit will also, it comes into play with ASHRAE 15.2, they'll use the LFL versus the RCL.
Okay. I think for 15 as well.
Is it
Yeah, or I think so the biggest change is the flammability limit is a big deal in ASHRAE 15. Yeah, that's going to run this instead of the RCL.
It's the LFL.
Yeah,
So
it's another thing that.
So that would be the LFL on 454B. This would actually change to 0.00186.
Okay.
So with this equation, it would come out to about 12 pounds.
Yeah, and I don't, I'm not saying to get into numbers, I'm just saying this is different than every VRF system before. We kind of transferred there, we kind of worried about the RCL. This is the spotlight on all these new refrigeration machines, and this is, there's a compliance thing we have to do that's completely with developers. We just don't miss it, we tools, and we need to kind of, and they've got ways to deal with it, but we do need to make sure we don't forget about it.
Yeah, it's a great point. I'll show you some software where we'll be helping you come up with all those additional equations, because there's a lot of equations that you would not want to learn at this stage.
Just to clarify, so if there's a leak in one fan coil, it's just going to shut down that fan coil, and the rest of the system's operational?
Correct. So the sequence, this whole UL sequence, right? You have this big UL number 6033, it's like -5, -2, -40, and then from that, that's how equipment is manufactured under that UL or A2L safety. And then from there, you have ASHRAE 15, 15.2, California, so movies fully.
Just to make this even more concerning, this ASHRAE 15 standard, I feel like changed has addendums every 6 weeks, so.
It probably will until we finally officially release.
Which is when? Do we know, did you talk about that?
When we're going to release it, and for sizes 3, 4, and 5, we're already selling it. For the larger 65,000 BTUs and greater, the last date you can install it is January 1st, 2027. It has to be manufactured by January 1st, 2026.
That's the condensing unit size you're talking about?
That's everything. Condensers in 410A has to be manufactured and imported prior to January 1st, 2026. You have up till January 1st, 2027 to install it. We are going into a last forecast, meaning we are going to give a list to the factory and they're going to order it, and that's next week. And that's pretty much, we're getting close to the last 410A purchase. Yes. So it's coming quick. Other ways to look at designing when we get into A2Ls is, one way you can do it is combine your zones. Use ducted fan coils, combine your zones, so you can get more volume in that room. If you do go ducted, if you do a plane of return, which you can do, you will be able to use the space above the ceiling. If you do a plane of return, and then you'll be able to connect all your volume zones together to increase your dispersal volume, so your system will qualify. So other ways of looking at it. Some other new rules that kind of popped up, transfer grills. Some jurisdictions aren't allowing transfer grills by just putting a hole in the wall. And if you do, there's a calculation on how big it has to be. And the top corners of the grill, transfer grill, can't be more than 12 inches off the floor. If the jurisdictions allow you to use the transfer grill, it can't be more than 12 inches.
Is 454B heavier than air?
Yes. All refrigerant is going to, that 454B, 410A, 32 is all heavier than air, so if it leaks, it's going to go to the floor. Right? Previously, they were allowing transfer grills in the ceiling. In reality, that means the whole room has to fill up with refrigerant before it starts to transfer.
So it's 454B has an order?
Yep.
And it's all the sensors.
And it's all the sensors. So the whole thing with the sensors, there is a sequence. There's a sequence on how all the equipment has to act when it senses a leak. One of it is if it senses a leak, it's going to stop that particular unit and it's going to run the fan for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, the sensor is always sensing, so after 5 minutes, it's going to look again at the sensor. If it's below the LFL, 25% below the LFL limit, guess what they're going to do to the unit? Turn it back on. I don't know why they would turn on something that already has a leak, that they're so concerned about it, but it's going to basically turn itself back on 3 times before it officially locks out. But once it does sense, it's going to stop all that refrigerant from the emergency shutoff.
Vinny, just for clarification.
Yep.
So that you said this is a UL procedure. And so that's going to be the same in the little fan coils and the little package units.
This is the UL code that you would need to know.
But it's not just VRF fan coils, it's everything will follow
Rooftops. Every fan coil is all going to have this. So this is a lot of garbage that we really don't want to look at. But I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit. I use this chart to break it down into 3 sections, right? We have an A2L HVAC system, and we're concerned about this space here, right? Break it down into 4 categories. If you fall into category A, you need nothing. Nothing needs to be done. You can leave the refrigerant into the room, no harm. Section B is a huge portion of this chart. Section B requires you to have required circulation and airflow. That means you need the UL algorithm, that UL 60335-240, that when it senses that there's a leak, it turns the fan on for 5 minutes. That's your circulation. That's already built into our fan coils. And a leak sensor, right? If you fall into C, section C, basically large quantity of refrigerant in a small room. C, you need an emergency shutoff valve. On our multi-ports, so it will be internal to the unit. But on our multi-systems, right, we have one-to-ones, we have multi-systems where you have one outdoor unit with multiple indoor units. You can pretty much, if you look at a carrier product and it's a one-to-one mini split and it's an A2L and it has no leak sensor and it has no mitigation for it, the reason why Carrier did that is because the spot, if it's a 2-ton, right, and you're going to put it in a 2-ton load, the average size of a 2-ton space is going to be well large enough for you not to need anything.
Well, that's why the window units don't have them either, right?
So if you're looking at in a piece of equipment that Jeffrey sends over to you and it's an A2L and there's no mitigation or anything with it, and it's pretty much, you know, with these other charts, the size, you know, based on how much refrigerant you have, the size of the room and the volume, the room's going to be big enough that you're not going to need anything.
Yeah, going back to that other previous, when you say the maximum refrigerant.
Okay, so yeah, the maximum refrigerant.
And that, we're still talking about the heat recovery box to the fan coil units, right? Not from the condensing unit.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Maximum, this slide is really for 15.2, but the max refrigerant on 15 is grotesquely large. Probably won't hit it. But in a residential application, you can't have more than 34 pounds of A2L in the system. You can have multiple systems adding up to 34, but you can't have one system with 34 pounds. That's where it's not allowed because of the amount of refrigerant versus the actual space.
And then on the B zone, you have to have some sort of exhaust fan hooked into the system where it jumps the air out, the refrigerant out of the room.
C zone?
The B.
B. So the air circulation is going to be the fan.
Oh, the fan on the
fan
coil. Yep.
So it's got to have algorithms built into it.
So when it senses it, it's going to turn the fan on high for 5 minutes, and then it's going to look at the sensor. And after 5 minutes, if the refrigerant quantity that is sensing, if it's below 25% of the LFL, the unit's going to go back in cooling or heating operation. With the leak in it. Yes, exactly, right? How concerned are they?
I got a question that goes back a couple.
Okay.
Talking about transfer drills having to be no higher than
12 inches.
What's the purpose of that? Is that because the room is expected?
So the room is too small. Yeah, so the room is too small, and what you want to do, what you're maybe trying to do is connect it to that room on the opposite side of the wall. So you cut a transfer grill. Today, it can't be just, and it has to be a certain size.
The reason he puts that out is we used to put in lots of games to connect spaces that didn't make any sense, but met the ASHRAE 15 requirements. And this new version of ASHRAE 15 makes sense now. It's actually very clear in how you handle it. And it's actually easier to comply with. It just means you can't do some of the transfer things we used to do. That's without getting into the detail. What's nice about most of this is you won't have to do a lot of transfer openings typically because you're running the fan when there is a leak and you're able to account for that. In the past you weren't able to your volume, instead of just being a single room on that fan, which used to be, it includes everything that fan coil serves.
Because they have the transfer.
Yeah, so it's less games and easier to apply now. The whole H2O like numbers are harder to figure out, but less games.
This slide here, I'm just showing you a multi-system, one outdoor unit with multiple indoor units. In the event, right, out of the box, we're going to have sensors in all of our fan coils from the factory. All of our fan coils will have the algorithms. We'll have alarm outputs, algorithms for fans. In the event that we fell into that zone where we needed an emergency shutoff valve, here's our emergency shutoff valve box that would be mounted at the outdoor unit. We'll give you a battery backup kit in case power is lost. The battery kit will be able to drive the valve shut. So this is how we would deal with a multi, one outdoor unit, multiple indoor unit mini split with A2L. I don't think we'll be using much of this shutoff valve box on these systems, depending on the size of the rooms, but what I'm trying to get across is Carrier's going to have you covered from A to Z when it comes to A2L. When we look at our larger VRF systems, our multi-port boxes, again, all of our fan coils are the same. They'll have the refrigerant leak sensors in it. Our multi-port boxes will have emergency shutoff valves with A2L sensors mounted inside the box. anything that the factory provides that's a leak point, and it's a device, needs to have a sensor, and needs to have, you know, the right algorithms for mitigation. So, multi-pole box, shut-off valves, leak sensors. We're going to provide a 4-inch knockout in the event the code ever says that this needs to be vented. It can be vented. We'll have that there, and then of course, in the event that if you did need to duct it, if you needed an assisted fan for it, we have controls to help with that, and of course, all the alarms needed for A2L will be in all of our VRF systems.
As far as refrigerant types, these are flammable refrigerants.
Slightly flammable.
And what's the requirement for shafts on these when you're running multiple floors?
Okay, so with ASHRAE 15, if you penetrate 2 or more floors, you need to do a fire rated shaft if the code requires it. ASHRAE 15 says it, and then there's like a term right after it that says if code requires it. Today, the California Mechanical Code does not state it. I think they just did an update in 2024. They sent me the blue page. We're going for another one in 2026, so we'll see what if it changes in 2026. But as of today, they do not state that you need to put it in a fire-rated shaft. The CMC states that you could use a raceway, or you could put it in a pipe protective device, or install it in a spot where it's not going to get damaged. The way the California Mechanical Code spells out it's under pipe protection. They don't necessarily say you need to use a shaft. They want you to put it above the ceiling in a place where it's not going to get punctured or damaged. It's the way it's stated.
All right, no, disagree with that, but add a little bit to it. So, the CMC doesn't state it, you're right. ASHRAE 15 does. 2022 says it needs to be an aerated shaft. The IMC, which is not our code, but the International Mechanical Code does call for rated shafts. ASHRAE came out with an addendum 7 days ago to the 2024 standard, which is not referenced in our mechanical code currently, that got rid of the requirement for it. So it is a, like, black and white, maybe you need it. and from a gray area, we could argue you don't need it. It's something to think about.
I think it was like
as we lay these out, when the equipment comes up.
Yeah, there's like 3 different options that you can do as far as shafts, whether it may need to be vented too as well.
Yeah, so you're going to have the 4-inch vent at the bottom, and then I think it's like 12 square inches up top. You can have joints in the shaft, you need to put a refrigerant sensor in there. So depending on the size of the equipment, if it's available and tempered, I would use tempered.
It's not something where we have projects that I know of that are going to be affected by this, but a lot of the multi-family stuff that's being planned is affected by this code. And it's changing. Like I said, every 6 weeks we seem to get something new. It's exciting, but be cool. Hopefully it'll get figured out. Yeah.
Are the batteries required for any codes?
No, not that I'm aware of. I think that the UL is so big, it probably stays in there. But carriers are given to you.
So there's the California code, which says follow ASHRAE 15, so it follows to, and then the UL is a little different compliance for all this too, that hopefully your calculator solves all those things.
We'll jump ahead, right? So like releasable charge. In the event we were looking at a scenario like this, our software will be calculating your releasable charge and will let you know if you ever need this. So When we get our software updated, you'll be able to enter your room height, width, and length, so you can get that releasable charge. Even today, we give you the added charge, the additional, the total, but we'll also be giving you the A-min for ash rate 15 and the A-min for ash rate 15.2, which would be residential, which will be a big help. If you look in any of our A2L products in the install book, you're going to be seeing all these charts, craziness. The books just got bigger because we're required to show you how to calculate and calc it out. Don't go too crazy because that software will do it for you, but all the information will be there for you. You may be asking yourself, well, how am I going to know how much refrigerant is in that line if I was going to hand calc it out? Our book, the install book, will tell you all the information. But we're going to take all that information and we'll be able to implement it into our software, so our software will be able to just spit it out and tell you.
So is it fair to understand that the previous software, which did the line sizing and lengths and that sort of thing, you just added to that for these additional requirements?
Yes, that is correct. That's this for some of your unitary equipment already, right, Jeff? Or have we?
I have this.
We haven't had to do anything? Okay.
We need to carry to put a presentation together for you. Bad idea myself today. Having Carrier put a presentation together for you, I always have to correct it.
You did it on the fly.
I did that on the fly pretty good, right? You know, all these standards that are coming up with A2Ls really starts from, you know, as we were talking, that big UL number, and then from there, kind of like branches off. We're going to make this, at least attempt to make this as simple and easier for you with the software. So it's pretty much done for you. You know, residential with ash rate 15.2, it's a little bit more stringent. We have all the different types of different charts for it. This is one example where we break down A, B, C, D. It's kind of like what I showed you earlier. Each section, depending on your dispersal floor area and height, will allow you to have so much refrigerant. All of this is going to be in the software, so you won't have to do it. But man, did it change? When it changed, it really changed. There was a lot that changed from terminology to new codes. It was actually kind of a mess, to be quite honest with you, to kind of grasp it all. But you know, it changes every day, just like the dates change every day. The EPA originally said VRF at 65,000 BTUs and greater was going to be over in 2026, January 1st. They pushed that to 2027 to give us more time to get rid of all the 410A equipment we have, because once we hit this date, whatever's 410A left over, we have to cut it up and throw it away. So they gave us an extra year.
So that brings up a point. So if you've got a 410A VRF system installed, and they do some tenant work, and they add a fan coil later, and you cut up and throw away all your 410A equipment, are the 454B fan coils backward compatible with 410A systems? So you're telling me that they can never do tenant work again?
We're going to have to get you a fan coil.
Yeah, but that,
Older one.
but you said they have to cut it up and throw it away.
Well, the condensers.
Oh, not the fan coils. Will the fan coils continue to be available?
We will have replacement parts and fan coils for, you know, the allotted time that manufacturers are supposed to be.
Because I would assume all the VRF manufacturers are taking a very similar approach to this issue.
I would assume so, yeah.
I think, I haven't heard if people are going to do backwards compatible.
And you won't be able to learn backwards compatible with the A2L.
Well, not with the A2L, but.
No, but if they
Before today, yeah.
Or we've got shell and core welders that have hundreds of tons of VRF that don't have floors built up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's all over the city.
And they're going in still. So they're either going to have to rip out those condensing units.
What are the fan coils like right now? And if they don't know what they're gonna be, they should damn well guess. That's what I'm telling you, that's my job right now.
Did everybody hear that?
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna stop, the date for the fan coils, I think, is later. Not, just like the split system.
Yeah, because the fan coil, the 410 VRF fan coil today would have to be imported and manufactured for January 1st, 2026. So any of that left over, you'd be able to use.
Which I think Matt's not in here.
I'm
But we have that situation in
After
Entrada, right?
Entrada's almost done with Moringa.
Or Moringa, yeah.
So it sounds like we've got to be notifying people that if you want to be able to do tenant work in the future, you better buy some extra fan coils and throw them in the warehouse. That's what I'm hearing.
Or if you haven't built anything out, you want to see if our refrigerant lines are big enough to change it.
I mean, if it's floors and floors of fan coils, it might be, not gonna be cheaper just to change the condensing units, because you have to get both now, both sides.
Yeah.
Who knows how long this is gonna last?
It's
Feel like
It's more complicated, there's more nuance to it, but it's gonna get more and more difficult.
Why can't they make a fan coil unit that isn't listed for the refrigerant, just a pressure? So that way it skirts the 410A issue.
What was it, say that again?
Why couldn't they just make a fan coil unit that works in a 410A system that's not listed for 410A? It's just listed for, you know, the operating pressure that that coil would see. So that way they can just continue to be made. Because you're saying after 2027 they cannot manufacture.
After 2026.
2026 they cannot manufacture a 410A.
That's the condensing unit though. Are we sure that's the fan coil?
410, yeah, it would be.
Or I agree with Matt, the fan coil is not the special piece, it's the heat recovery units and it's the condensing units that are very complicated.
So allowing one additional year, provided components were manufactured in the US or imported before January 1st.
Condensing units, evaporators.
Because the fan coil units wouldn't even come with refrigerant, right? They're just
Yeah, they're right.
Yeah. Or,
I'm not clear on
if
that.
we're interpreting it this way, which might be the right way, I don't know. If you have 100 fan coils on a VRF system, you lose one, the only way to fix that is to put it in a whole new VRF system. You can't repair it twice.
There'll be,
Huh?
there'll be
Parts replacement, yeah.
You can't replace a fan coil in that system.
No, not unless we have it, if we have it in stock, we will be able to.
If we have it in stock, could we sell it after January 2027?
Yeah, because what we would have in stock would be compliant with the dates for us to sell. So it would be prior to that, right? So if we had something in stock, it would be prior to this. So we could sell.
Until it's gone.
Until it's gone, because then the manufacturer can't import 410A, December 31st.
It's just interesting because to Matt's point, there's nothing different besides the valves and the snippers between a 410A.
all the line sizes are gonna be the same too, right?
The change is not kind of that line size. The refrigerant changeover, it's going to be the same. It's going to be in the same chassis, just a different.
Matt, I don't know if you were here when Vinny said it, but we're announcing our last call for 410A stuff here very soon, like in the next week. And once it's last call, like, you're not really gonna make it anymore.
Fan coil units and condensing units.
Yes.
Unless we say too well, and they're like, everything we talked about, forget about it, just install it.
Hey, it's good from a sales point of view.
Not all, not really.
Yeah.
Well,
For me, I'm like,
it's complicated.
exactly what everyone else is doing. It's like, well, how do we manage this, right?
Beyond our control.
Any questions? Staring at me.
Sounds like a windfall.
This isn't a carrier thing, this is a VRF thing. This is a roll live.
Is your VRF D466A?
Huh?
Is your VRF take 466A?
So I'm still waiting for the 450/48.
That's expensive too, by the way, you have a price in.
With the 450/48, yeah.
About 33 bucks a pound.
It's nothing to do with 22 days,
Almost as high. Well, actually, recycled 22 is cheaper.
Yeah.
22's gone down.
When it started, it was like when I was getting in, 12 was getting out. I used to have trouble with that. Some gas stations.
For cars.
Yes.
This is your last slide.
No, we got our offering now.
So you sell stuff too?
We sell stuff too. We came in, I educated you on what we have, right? All right, so I got like 10, 15 minutes left. I'll run through our product line offering. We have 2 VRF offerings. This is our Toshiba carrier offering. We have all types of fan coils. One fan coil that is not on here, but we do have, is the one-way. We have high static outside air processing units, multi-poise air handlers, large 4-way cassettes, undersealings, compact cassettes. The cassettes now have different color grills if you want to get fancy. Medium static ducted at 0.8 external. The high static goes to 1 inch. We have low static, 0.22 low static, high walls, floor consoles. We have the unique 40 QQ rooftop, which is carriers 3 to 5 ton. The 5 ton weighs 400 pounds, so it's super lightweight. Our 3-phase condensing units range from 6 tons to 42 tons. We also offer a 6 and 12 ton single phase heat recovery, so if you ever do high-end homes, it's a great product for that. Our single phase outdoor unit, 3, 4, and 5. This used to be a double fan, is now a single fan. So 3, 4, and 5, single fan. You can have a 1-to-1 or up to 9 fan coils connected to the indoor unit.
Each with its own separate line set?
You're doing suction of liquid out into the space and then tapping off that and feeding all your zones.
Without a box?
Without a box.
But it's heat pump.
But it's heat pump.
It's not heat recovery.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll also point out that using that little mini VRF in a 1-to-1 application is going to be your longest line length capabilities for a split system. You know, when comparing it to any other residential type of setup.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
For gone are the days of using a split system and going beyond the length requirements and being able to upsize the lines because of the inverter technology most of the time. So when we go long length of size, we're gonna end up looking at a VRF style unit or an old style unit, which you can still sell, right, without
The inverter, yes.
Yeah.
We have non-inverter splits as well.
So, yeah, that, I probably didn't say that very well, but just know that's not the way it always has been. We've dealt with that on a few guys.
The Toshiba carrier product available in heat pump and heat recovery. This is a 3-pipe heat recovery, so I did, similar to Daikin, LG, Samsung, 3-pipe heat recovery. Our second.
Go back a second.
Yep.
So if you wanted to do a retrofit job that has 3 to 5 ton commercial rooftop, I assume that fits in the old curve. And it's the same dimension box, it's just a panel instead of a condenser coil, and there's no compressor, which is why it only weighs 400 pounds, right? So you could put a series of those little suckers and a condensing unit and some refrigerant pipe either above or below the ceiling, and retrofit it. Instead of using rooftop units, you could do the VRF. And you could even retrofit gas rooftop units to heat pump VRF if you wanted to do that, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
And it uses regular rooftop economizers. So it's easy to satisfy any fresh air requirements.
Okay, that makes sense, I didn't think about that.
Our second VRF product line, this is the Carrier VRF line. The Carrier VRF line is available in single chassis from 6 to 28 tons for the heat recovery. The heat pump you have to twin and triple together, but the heat recovery, one chassis from 6 tons to 28, one pipe connection, one electrical connection.
Who makes that for you?
Carrier Medea.
So you guys bought Medea?
I don't know if we bought.
We didn't completely buy them, but we have a venture with them. We bought Toshiba Carrier, right? So going back to this product line, I'm sure you've all heard the company Toshiba. That big company had an air conditioning company. It was Toshiba Air Conditioning over in Japan, across UK, everywhere global. So Carrier, the whole Toshiba Carrier logo in the mid to late 90s, Carrier purchased 40% of Toshiba Carrier Corporation, which gave them global distribution rights and of course rights to the product. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Carrier consumed Toshiba Carrier Corporation, so it is now called Carrier Japan or Carrier Thailand. They bought them. So this product line is Carrier VRF. This is our two-pipe heat recovery. So if this is this is the same as you would with Mitsubishi Train. So we offer both 2 and 3-pipe heat recovery. Why? What's the benefit? What are you doing with it? Depending on your building shape and your zoning arrangement, there may very well be a difference of which one is going to fit better in that application. Some people may think just because 3-pipe heat recovery has 3 refrigerant lines that it's always going to have more refrigerant lines. I can show you an example of a job that 3-pipe ended up being 73% less copper on the job than 2. There were pros and cons to things. There were a few more, we used single port boxes on that job, so we had a few more brace joints to do, but it was 73% less copper on the job. So, depending on your client, if your client prefers 2-pipe and VRF, great, we got it. If you prefer it, great, we got it. Or if you're up, if you don't have a preference and you have the job and you went to Jeffrey with it, you'd be able to sit down and look at it and give you 2 examples of which one. And hey, this one fits better. If you don't like it, you can go with this one. But we give you options instead of just pushing one option down your throat. From a controls perspective, we have all the controls for pretty much do anything from existing BMS to brand new BMS. We can do high view front ends. We have advanced central controllers that can be mounted on the wall, touchscreen controllers, non-touchscreen controllers, a bunch of small wire connectors to do a bunch of different fun stuff. If you guys do jobs with hospitality, our VRF can have a direct connection with Verdant controls. So if you have a Verdant stat, all you have to do is wire that Verdant stat right to our fan coil and it works. So you're doing a hotel job and they're using a Verdant front end, we have a direct connect with them, and we also have a direct connect to Verdant controls pairing with our VRF lines. So from very simple basic controls to advanced, we got you covered there. Timing on all this stuff, we are very close to getting to release the Toshiba Carrier 454B. We will be fully ready for 2026. And then shortly, in around May time in 2026, we'll be bringing the Carrier version in. For the smaller 3 to 5 tons, these are already available. We've already made the change. The Carrier version landed first, so we're pushing this out in 454B right now. The Toshiba Carrier is on its way. We should see this probably in July. By mid-July, this should land here in North America. And just to touch base again, The TC 3 to 5 ton is a single fan on all models. And then with the carrier, only the 3 ton is a single fan, then it goes to a double fan. For these single phase 3 to 5 ton products, we did not bring in the entire fan coil lineup. We brought in the primary ones that we use, which are the 2 cassettes, compact and standard, medium static, one-way, high walls, and multi-point verticals. When we release the larger VRF equipment, we'll bring in the floor consoles, the high statics, the outside air unit, and the underseal. Any questions on that? All right, so some new designs with our VRF product. With the TC, we introduced a new twin rotary and triple rotary compressor. This is a unique thing because TC was the only one using a DC twin rotary in their VRF. I guess Carrier Japan sells this compressor to Fujitsu, but they don't have the control board to control it the way we do. But we have a new twin and triple rotary compressor. We've done work on our fan. We increased our condenser fans to a total external static of 0.32. In the event you wanted to duct your condenser, if it was installed in a mechanical room or a penthouse, you can vent it out. Previously, we were only at a 0.24 external, so we increased that to a 0.32. We changed our condenser. We used to have a 4-sided wraparound condenser. Only the top of the unit to midway was condenser. The rest was all mechanicals. We changed to a 3/4 wraparound coil, and we have coil surface top to bottom, which increased our heat exchanger area for our new unit.
Vinny,
Yep.
just for the sake of time, can we skip to the part about our equipment being the most efficient?
Okay. So, yeah, right, sales pitch. The HRI is a testing firm, right? All equipment has to go through this in order to receive a certification. There was a lot of games played with this test procedure, but in 2023 it all got locked down. Prior to 2023, it was just a field day for VRF manufacturers in the lab, making their units run in ways that it would never run. But what are you talking about? Let's look at what changed in the test procedure. Prior to 2023, there was no sensible heat ratio ever given. So manufacturers could go in and create an environment that was extremely dry because they were never given a sensible heat ratio. So they would create in a dry environment and then tweak their unit to run kick-ass, right? But who wouldn't run top-notch if you were trying to cool an extremely dry room? But HRI now gives 2 sensible heat ratios, 75 and 100% at a 0.85 and a 0.82. Manufacturers can no longer alter the unit. They had X amount of time to tweak their unit to make it run the best way possible. That would be by reprogramming compressor speeds, fan speeds, valves, all that kind of stuff. They would just hack away at the unit to make it run effectively. With the new test procedure, none of that is allowed. You can't do anything. It has to run as it would in the real world. You can't use special units. Special unit is the fan coils. They were using very low BTU, large coil surface area, the cassettes. Large cassette, 33 by 33. They were putting 7K fan coils on that thing. So you would have a massive coil surface area with this minute BTU scale, and put that on a very dry room and run it. Of course, you're going to look good. So you can't use those fan coils anymore. HRI they have the data. They make the manufacturer use the most popular sold fan coils. So games are all over. When the games were all over and everyone went back into the lab, what manufacturers were promoting, they are no longer there anymore. I'll unhide some of them. I don't want to go too into the weeds with it because numbers are numbers, right? So these are some of the things that we were looking at. This is how much some of the manufacturers took a dive. Some of them hit 30%, some not so much, but after the new test, this is pretty much what happened because they were playing games. And then when I kind of went through everything, I started to realize, and I'm going to take my 2 seconds of fame because since 2013 I never was able to say I had the biggest numbers, but the numbers are just numbers.
People brag about having the biggest things all the time.
But for the one time only, like this unit is our most efficient unit on the market today. After that test, Carrier was always conservative with our numbers. We have a really great team and a great product. So after that test, we came out on top when I was getting smushed for years. But yeah. So there's a lot has changed in the VRF world, from testing to refrigerant to rules, and it's going to be changing.
Can you back up? How significantly different are your numbers? And the reason I ask is, for I see 30s.
Oh, you want to go the differences, or you want to see what they got hit with,
or how much does it matter? So, energy code, if we're 30% more efficient than the baseline, now do we become
economize.
Right. So did your competitors take a tank where that matters? And
Yes.
is your unit,
Yes.
is it better so that it matters?
We are higher. We're the most efficient one on the market today.
Efficient enough to get me 30% against the prescriptive. Okay.
As long as you're not the day and you don't come with me with that 65.
Yeah. This may or may not matter. Or great.
I like the way you think. I like the way you think. I know where you're going with it. Yes, that could very much well help you out. So that's pretty much my spiel. Thank you all for your time. Just down the street, so if you have any questions, Jeffrey, I'm available. Thank you all for your time.
Oh yeah, I was wondering where that came from. I didn't know how that your biggest I don't know. Oh, he's not that well.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yes, and it's on network. Oh, yeah. Good job. Yeah. Nice seeing you, man. Thank you.
Take care of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
The cool thing about a lot of the new Finisty units and the inverter stuff, super quiet stuff, is you can now use them with backwards furnaces. So if you wanted to stay with a gas furnace, which I kind of recommend, especially if you're not solar.
Absolutely.
You do have solar. You can use, a nice inverter compressor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I wasn't trying to. I wasn't trying to help you out. I've set like 4 of these with different manufacturers.
I stand up in front of people all day, and I love people.
Yeah. And in engineering, we have to deal with it. I just don't want them taking away things. And also know that, hey, like, I think we got it figured out, but this is changing. Yeah.
Changing every day.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
410A? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy to
Yes.
I mean, we might still have some stuff.
I don't know, yeah.
Email me, holy cow,
Shit, I went through it.
locust.
And I had, because we had originally added on the back of the house, converted the back of the house.
Yeah.
So I've actually put a 410 unit in 20-some years ago, whatever. It's 1,800 square foot house, so it's a little bit undersized anyway, so I was thinking of going to a 5-ton,
Yeah.
but something with a variable speed compressor, something to make it a little better.
Yeah. Do you want to zone anything?
I wasn't going to, only because I'm going to be retiring somewhat soon.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're going to stay in California. Eventually, we're going to go to Idaho. So I don't know, my son still is there, so I don't know if we can keep the house, rent it out, sell it. I don't know where I'm at yet, but
Is it upstairs, downstairs, or single story?
single story up in Santa Clarita.
That's where I live.
Oh, okay, where?
Right near Henry Mail, kind of.
Oh, okay, I'm up off of Seiko, up in Saugus.
Okay. I'm like, if you got off, you know where like Wiley is,
Right.
Singing Hills?
Yeah.
I'm like that neighborhood. But I have a 2-story, and I did a VRF, a mini VRF, 4-ton outdoor, 3-ton top story, 2-ton bottom floor.
Okay,
It works pretty cool. I like it.
yeah.
But it's a heat pump. And
Yeah.
the thing's jamming all winter long, man.
Yeah, that-
It's like I get an air conditioning bill in the winter time, you know? 'cause it's
I know.
really heat pump.
yeah.
But are you gonna do a rental? You gonna rent it?
We don't know yet, that's the thing. When this all comes around, our younger son's gonna stay there, basically rent the house. We're gonna go travel, my wife won't fly.
Yeah.
My nephew races NASCAR, so next year or two, we're gonna kind of travel the circuit, see the country.
Cool.
My other son lives up in Idaho, so we're gonna be kind of bouncing back and forth the first
Yeah.
couple of years when I do retire. Kind of look around and see what we want to be. So it's gonna be a couple of years, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Eventually, we're gonna go to Idaho, I think is where we're gonna end up, and it'll probably get rid of the California house and be done with California altogether. Just with everything happening and insurances and stuff, I don't,
Expensive place to live here.
yeah, I don't know if I can rent it, I just don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's too many I don't know yet, that's the problem.
Plus, when you move out of it and you rent it for a couple of years, then it's like you get hit with capital gains taxes.
Yeah. That's why I'm gonna have, basically my son is gonna live there while we're traveling and just help out with the stuff, so to speak.
Yeah. You said it's a 4-ton and you're gonna go to a 5-ton?
I'd like to, only because it is an 1,800 square foot house.
Yeah.
We have dual pane, upgraded windows, we did a bunch of stuff, it's okay, but in the summertime, it gets a little warm up there. It's pushing it.
Say you go with what I said, the hybrid system.
Yeah.
Do a 5-ton, condensing unit, coil furnace. I'd keep a gas furnace.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't like having heat pump for winter in Santa Clarita.
Yeah.
It gets cold. There's
Yeah.
often nights that are below freezing.
Yeah.
Keep the gas furnace, but then you'll have the beauty of having a hybrid system.
Let me, I'm gonna shoot you an email later.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll send you what I have condensing unit wise in here, just so you have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to just pull the condensing unit out, pull the furnace out, replace it.
Yeah.
Of course, the line, whatever I have to do, just,
Yeah.
at least that way I know what I need to do and budget for it.
Yep.
I don't wanna put it in before I retire, I don't want that expense down the road.
Yeah.
So, anyway, thanks, Jeff. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yep.
Thanks for everything.
Yeah, thank you. Alrighty.
For all the sandwiches, yeah, that's the locust. That was a good job.
You want me to take this trash out?
Yeah, for VRF, because the developer, the sell of VRF is you put less money in your shell for loans. Push a lot of it into the TI loans.
Yeah.
Which lets you develop it. Well, home 5 years ago, and office space is going down. I think this is still true. I don't know. I can't speak for exactly what's going on. And so that's what we have. At least one, if not two buildings that are put together that were installed in 2019. And there's got to be a lot more because we did not do a lot of VRF. Right. But most of us, or most of Western Island did not do VRF.
Not just like, it's the refrigerators, the big thing, but you know, all the software updates, you're lending yourself.
That's not what we're
Yeah, you're lending yourself to issues, installing that, and if chillers something different, it's a whole lot. You know? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
With any VRF system, it updates every 6 months.
Yeah.
It's
You're lending yourself to a disaster.
Yeah.
And I feel for these people that put all this shit on the roof. I don't know what they're doing. I really don't.
Yeah.
I'll just sit back and laugh. I didn't sell it.
We've shined it up, right? Because it was a hotness.
Yeah.
5, 10 years ago. It's still going to continue to be just because it doesn't use gas. It
Yeah.
uses carbon, right? So it's an electric solution that an engineer doesn't need to think that much about.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of put on the front. It creates that black box that the engineer can kind of be like, listen to what your manufacturer wants and kind of vent it up. It's not, I'm being overly dramatic, but it's an interesting partnership you've got there. So, God itself, it's fun. And
Because of the electrification that you pump in.
Same one, right?
Yeah.
The refrigerator change, the electrification, and I don't think we can back with I don't know.
You know what I mean? The diagnosis of an entire building, you know, sensitive. Yeah.
It's we're moving away, so I want my church has an analog voice system, and we were talking about going voice over IP. Like, we don't use a lot, but it's got a cooler, it's got it beautifully fun way.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the analog system is working. Like, we haven't had to touch it in 30 years. And so we had a technical perspective that we came from. Like, look, we continue to support it. I would use it like this. Continue voice over IP, which I would recommend for everybody else, right?
Yeah.
It's great. We'll give you all these new devices, but then you gotta figure it out on your own. And we're just gonna be changing out boxes and I don't know, everything's moving to buy the box and to deal with someone on the phone to figure out how to fix it. And that's VRF. It's a lot of software, a lot of enforcement. This guy's doing it. I don't know. It's less mechanical. Yeah. We used to have it. I don't know. I drink takeouts. It's really nice. I don't know if you say when we used to run here or what. I think it was here, but I don't know. It used to be used. If it does go for stuff. You got something like that, or you're in the market? No.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
That thing looks.
We used to have a Keurig, and now we just have a